Hi, I'm Kathy Garusso, the Sierra Club Huron Valley Group's Outings Chair. And now might be a good time to grab a pen and or pencil and some paper to jot down some notes. We have our newsletter that is for a nominal fee for a magazine subscription. You can get the Mackinac, which has a lot of local state information within the state of Michigan, activities, outings, interests. I'm going to be reading some things today, so I have that information and get that information to you more correctly. So I'll be looking at the forms that I'm reading and follow along and jot down any interests that you may have. The latest interest so far has been Line 5, Enbridge Line 5 in the Straits of Mackinac. Underneath the water in the Great Lakes are pipelines, just in case you don't know. And Enbridge is a company that has a pipeline that has oil called Line 5 that gets regulated regularly, that transports oil. New research gives a clearer picture of where oil might go if Line 5 has any problems or any leakage within the Great Lakes. So imagine a pipeline in the wonderful Great Lakes up at Straits of Mackinac, near the Mackinac Bridge is what we're talking about. If there were just a minimal 1 drop of oil every hour for, let's say, several days, that would go into that water system. So it's very crucial. Imagine a leak wouldn't necessarily be 1 drop of oil every hour and for days until they could get to it or detect it or then check it out, because they don't check it every day necessarily in that way. So the potential of the Great Lakes getting oil leakage from Enbridge Line 5 is real and has to be regulated, so they regulate it. New research has been found by David Schwab, looked at 840 simulated spill scenarios. This map shows the probabilities of where oil might go after a spill in the Straits of Mackinac. So in other words, there's, the Straits of Mackinac is north near the Mackinac Bridge. And so some environmentalists and environmental activists have said, you know what, we really should make sure that that line is safe and regulated so that nothing happens to those islands and that water. Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, all those tiny little islands that are related, and all the wildlife and plants in that area. So that's something to consider and to log on to and see if you have any interest in saying, yes, you'd like that regulated and that should be regulated. Also, we have Nexus Pipeline. The Nexus Pipeline, southeastern Michigan, is in the pathway of 2 proposed natural gas pipelines, both carrying fracked natural gas from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia across Ohio into Michigan and continuing into Canada. The 2 pipelines, ET Rover and Nexus, use essentially parallel routes that include portions of Lenawee, Monroe, Washtenaw, and Livingston counties. If the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, approves these projects, the companies can use eminent domain to establish rights of way on private land. What does that mean? That means that they could have defined routes, compressor stations, metering stations, private land. Ultimately, FERC is supposed to weigh the public need versus potential adverse impacts of each project before determining whether to approve it. The Sierra Club argues that neither project has demonstrated need or financial viability to outweigh adverse environmental impacts, oil lines, breakage, slippage, leakage, any of that. FERC approved the ET Rover Pipeline February 3rd this year, 2017, and eminent domain. People are saying, hey, we don't like the eminent domain idea of that on our private land. So if you have any interest in finding out about the Nexus Pipeline, you can log on to that as well. And that will get you information, and you can always send in a letter to our representative, Debbie Dingell, who really works hard for the people, is very active and communicative and interested in that as well. Representative Debbie Dingell raises concern over Nexus Pipeline gas transmission. Ypsilanti Township, Michigan, our representative Debbie Dingell, a Democrat, Dearborn, has written to the U.S. Department of Transportation expressing concerns over a potential permit that would waive the odorization of gas requirements for the Nexus Pipeline. What does that mean? They'd take away the requirements of having to regulate that smells, that gas emissions, right on private property land that would affect possibly people, pets, wildlife, etc. The natural gas pipeline is proposed for a 255-mile stretch in southeast Michigan, including an eastern portion of Washtenaw County, which is where we're at, and northern Ohio. The general meetings that we have at Sierra Club Huron Valley Group are free to non-members. So if you're not a member, come join us. If you have any interests about the Nexus Pipeline or fracking, then please come join us and we'll talk about that. You can pick up free information and free brochures, ET Rover Pipeline, Nexus Pipeline, wind. Maybe you have interest in wind power. Wind power is so new. Maybe you have interest in wind turbines, wind power, electric cars, electric vehicles, how we're going to power these things, what we're going to do in the future. It can be very interesting, and it's no charge. Come join us.